out there, folks, hope you're all doing well. In my last video, I brought you news of the update to Rfactor 2 by Studio 397, which is mainly focused on this wonderful car here, the BMW M2 CS Racing. And this car has been updated with suspension updates, new tyres, ABS updates, sound updates, and more. And spoiler alert, I'm loving it. Now, I did say in that video that I would bring you a video of me testing it, so we can actually have a look at it, because in the last video I just detailed the patch notes for you, so we're going to be doing that in this video. I did say, though, that it was going to be coming out very shortly, and it's now been a couple of days because I've had terrible problems with my recording software, but that's all sorted out now, so pleased to tell you I can now do that for you. This is the car that Studio 397 are going to be giving away for free. Currently it is paid DLC, costing about £4.35 and on Steam, but they are going to be giving it away for free. It sounds like there's going to be some kind of racing competition for it to get your hands on it. Anyway, I thought seeing as it's had suspension updates, we'd take it out to Sebring, because that's quite a bumpy track, so we can see how the suspension deals with Sebring. Just a few details on the car. There are two versions of it. So I'm going to be taking out the Clubsport here, which is the 450 brake horsepower model. Both cars are 3-litre inline 6 twin turbos, but there is also the Cup version. Oh, I've just lost it there. There we go. There's the Cup version here. That is 350 brake horsepower. So your Clubsport is 450 brake horsepower, and your Cup is 350 brake horsepower. So one's a little bit faster. For instance, if you can find a long enough straight in the Clubsport version, you'll be doing topping out about over something like 175, depending on your setup. And in the Cup version, you'll be topping out around just over 160, depending on your setup. Also, they have updated the fuel for each car, or the fuel consumption for each car. I have tried this out by putting just 1 litre of the fuel in the car and seeing how far it'll go, and I do get a little less further round a track in the Clubsport version, the higher horsepower version, than I do in the Cup version. Anyway, let's get out to Sebring and see what this car's all about now. So here we are at Sebring, and we're going to be going out on a standard default setup. As you can see, the setup in this car is quite limited. You can't do much with the differential or gearing, and you can't even adjust the brake bias. That is one thing I wish you could do in this car. The maximum pedal force by default has been decreased by Studio 397, so it's quite low down there at 69%. You've got anti-roll bars that you can adjust, and wings and springs, and tender springs have been they've been updated in this car or been made longer, but you can't adjust those, so they're just as they are. You can adjust your dampers there, and as you can see, it's got quite a low lock. The ACC version of this car seems to have an even, or Assetto Corsa Composizione, because they have this car, has an even lower lock. I think the lock on that car is around 380. This one lets you go all the way up to 439. So no, we don't want to exit. We want to go out on track. Let's do that. So here we are, and the first thing I'll say about this car is it's on the new tyres. Now, these new tyres are very sensitive to heat. So if I pop up my tyre widget there, so we're on cold tyres there. If I take it out nice and slow, don't let them warm up, take it round the first few corners, you're going to see what I mean. So let's turn our speed limiter off. Okay. So they're quite slippery, as you can see. And you want a good couple of laps before you got them fully warmed up. But actually with this car as well, because it is quite easy to kick the back end out. This is a rear-wheel drive car and got plenty of power. Low powered compared to some of the GT3s and things like that. But what I'd suggest, if you want want to get it warmed up quickly, just do a little first and second gear, or a couple of first and second gear burnouts. So we'll get those tyres warmed up. In Rfactor 2, those temperatures are surface temperatures, so it takes a while to get the core warmed up fully. So we'll give that another go. Okay, so they're nice and warmed up now. Now, like I said, you can kick the back end out if you want, like so. If you want to calm that down a little bit, even with the tyres warmed up, you can do things like lowering your rear camber angle, which might sound counterintuitive because, of course, you want more camber on high-speed corners, but I'm talking about your low-speed corners, corners like this where you're coming out at about second gear. If you lower your camber for that, on your exit at the corner, it'll keep a stronger or a larger contact patch, cuts down on that a bit. You can also do things like changing your suspension and anti-roll bar setups. But it really is feeling rather good. On the longer or higher speed corners, the tyres are maintaining grip better. And also, one of the big things that I was really excited about this car, well, two things really, it was suspension and braking. The ABS system has been updated. Now, this car used to, in the old version of the car, the ABS, which you can't switch off in this car, or at least in this version of the car, I believe you can in ACC. In this car, it's built in. You cannot switch it off, and the ABS used to, when it cut in, it would go through your force feedback like thunder. Honestly, the wheel would be shaking. It always felt exaggerated and overdone. Now, I'm happy to say, after a lot of testing, it's much better. So if I brake hard at the end of this straight here, I'm going to take my hands off the wheel. There you go. You can see the wheel just juddering a bit there, and you can hear it as well. It's so much better. It's if I keep my hands on the wheel, now it feels much more. The vibration is much more subtle. It's much more akin to the ACC version, if you like, and it feels like when the ABS kicks in my real car. So I'm really pleased about that, because that did kind of interfere with the driving experience a little bit of this car, which has always been a really fun car. I've always liked it. And also the frequency of the ABS has been updated as well. So it's now running at about 200 Hertz. So it's much faster ABS. And the braking, you know, you can brake like that and not let the ABS kick in, and it is braking rather well. I do wish, though, that you could adjust the brake bias on this car, because it is a little bit understeery, under braking. Low speed you can get quite a bit of oversteer, but like I said, you can counteract that. But under braking, a little bit understeery. The suspension is the other big news with this car, and I'm absolutely loving what they've done with the suspension. When this car first came out, it had kind of funky suspension. It was, for instance, if you got sideways, the car would just start bouncing in a kind of an awkward manner. It's like it had a way too stiff setup, and also it was hard to see on replays. I've left the replay camera up here so you can see what's going on from the outside of the car. It didn't have really any body roll at all. You couldn't see any, and it was just a bit wrong. But now it's much better. It's proper. It's how it should be. For instance, your side to side movement. When I get down on this straight here, I'll try and show you what I mean. There's that mid corner grip, very nice. I'm not going too fast at the moment, but so your side to side movement now, you should be able to see the car pitching, leaning and yawing there. It's very visible. You can feel it from both inside the car and outside the car. So I'm really, really happy about that. And if you really want to see the suspension working, take it to Laser Cutter's fantastic version of Not Kill. That's a free mod track available on Steam. Take it there and drive it like you stole it over the huge sausage curbs there, and you'll really see the suspension working. And also another thing, as I said, this car has always been a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So if you want to take a break from driving seriously and working specifically on your lap times, if you want to get a bit silly with it and just have a little bit fun with it, try and get some sideways action, can you still do it on these new tyres and new suspension? Well, I took it to Monaco for a little bit of low speed sideways action, and yeah, turns out it's still as much fun as it used to be. It just feels a lot better. On that note though, for getting a bit sideways, with these new tyres, they've also come with the new sound update to the car. And in the new sound engine, you get a lot less initial noise from the tyres when you start to slide, or start to scrub at least. You don't really hear any scrub noise at all until you're properly sliding. So for instance, there you go. So you didn't really hear any noise until I got properly sideways there. Then you hear it's a really good tyre noise, but less initially. And I think Studio 397 are going for that more realistic way that slicks act audibly. I've heard a lot of people, who've gone on track days and driven cars with proper racing slicks on them. They say that the racing slicks are a lot quieter when they slide than normal road tyres. So watch out for that. The sound engine, it does sound good. The engine note, the way it comes across to you in the car, sounds a lot better than it did. It's a lovely engine note. Apparently, I'll just turn off this widget here, they've updated the cockpit animations. That's one thing that I haven't seen much evidence of. The cockpit looks kind of the same to me as it used to. Also, if I change down my gears here, watch the left hand, the fingers aren't moving to come down the gears, so there's no animation for going up or down gears, funnily enough. The gloves look a bit nicer maybe. But then again, those driver animations might be to do with what you're seeing the head of the driver doing from outside of the car. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of that. Talking of gears, they have also implemented the gear protection system, and I really like it because when they implemented it to the GT3 cars, it seemed very aggressive. So you couldn't change down unless your foot was completely off the pedal. My foot's slightly on the pedal there, and I've just changed down and up and down. You can change up really easily. There you go. I've just gone all the way up to 6. It's a lot less aggressive and a lot less intrusive than, or seems to be at least, than what's on the GT3s. Once again, let me know what you think of that in the comments. So another thing that's been updated is the rear spindle effect has been lessened, so you get less engine braking on your back wheels when you're down changing, which is good, but that kind of goes hand in hand with the brake bias thing. I still do wish you can trail brake this car. If you're kind of nice and light on the pedal, you can trail brake it and get a bit of rotation under braking. But I do wish you could play with that brake bias. But apart from that, this car, it just feels superb. It really does. And I've had a play. I'm on default setup now, but I've had a play with setups, and you can get it driving really nicely. It drives nicely as is. I honestly, the way it is at the moment, it's feeling so good. I almost want to say it's one of the best cars in sim racing. Maybe that's going a bit far, I don't know. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments, but I'm absolutely loving it, I really am. And it's dealing well with the bumps around here at Sebring. I have tried it with softening up the suspension, it deals with them even better that way. But I'm really enjoying it, and there was nothing mentioned in the patch notes, and this is one of the reasons I've always loved this car, but I've never been able to really enjoy racing it, because the AI for this car, or at least one of the different versions of it, have always been slow, painfully so. And I don't know what's happened, but whatever they've done seems to have had a slight knock-on effect to the, not even a slight knock-on effect, but a knock-on effect to the AI. One, they seem a little less prone to rolling over. The AI used to roll over, and I've taken them to Knock Hill and watched them, you know, hit those curbs, and I'm not seeing them roll over at every instance. It's much better. Two, they seem a lot faster. At some tracks, Sebring being one of them, I can get good competition from the AI with the skill level down as low as 95%. So I'll stick them around here at 100% aggression, just because, well, just to give myself a challenge. And 95 skill, and they're doing great lap times, and it's a challenge to keep with them. It's fantastic, really loving that. So, as I mentioned in my last video, with this update there are a few minor updates to other cars, and I'm not going to go and drive those, because they're mainly, there's just a couple of the classic F1 cars and the Astra BTCC. They've just got rid of some of the Phantom liveries, I think, with the Astra BTCC. And with the F1 cars, there have been a couple of graphical updates, and also on one of them they've made the suspension more fragile, easier to break off. If you go back to my video on the patch notes, or go to Studio 397's website, you can check out what those updates are. And I'm being kind of leisurely around here, but let's just see what kind of lap times we've been doing. Actually, I can probably see that better if I get up. I'm losing my way now, because I was looking at the information screens coming up here, not the road. So we're doing 225s around Sebring. But one more thing to do with the electronic aids. Traction control has been changed as well. So Studio 397 have said they've changed the traction control to make it less intrusive. So if I boot it, there we go, in second gear around there, you can see I can get the back end out quite easily. That's with no traction control. You've only got 2 levels of traction control on here, or 3 rather, off, on, or more on. And the car at the moment being driven by a moron. There you go. See, I can get the back end out there. Now, if I stick it on to traction control 1, which if you see in the left-hand side, or left-hand corner there, they're calling that dry. It cuts in, but you can still overpower if you want. It does very much help out on corners like this. There we go. That's really helped me out around that corner, just subtly. What about this one? Yeah, much better around there as well, but I can still use a bit of throttle to rotate the car if I want to. So, what happens if we pop it onto wet? Obviously, this is going to be, in the lower horsepower version of this car, it will feel a bit stronger, but in this car we've got more horsepower to overpower it with. So let's put on the power around here. So this is with the traction control on wet, and it's controlling the back end nicely there. And yet, as they've said, it doesn't feel too intrusive. So I've just absolutely nailed the throttle there and had no problem at all. Let's try a low speed corner. Can we nail it and get it to come out? No, it's got the car very much under control. That's nailing it, and you know, let's go back off with the traction control though. It really is just a wonderful car to drive, and with it being lower powered than something like the GT3 is a good entry level car, especially with the traction control turned on. A really good entry level car to get used to for people just coming into sim racing, and especially if you are coming into sim racing, or if you're just thinking, or you've bought Rfactor 2 but you've not bought any DLC, do look out for trying to get your hands on this car for free. So, yeah. Tell me what you think. If you've got this car already, if you've tried it after the update, tell me what you think. I honestly think they've really kind of nailed it with this car. It's feeling fantastic. The force feedback, by the way, before I go, is feeling ace. It's great. I did find that the force feedback for this car, compared to some of the other cars, is a little bit on the light side. Not by too much. So my in-game force feedback, the general force feedback for all the cars, is set at about 50% on my wheel, and I've got about 10% smoothing on. With this car, on the individual car force feedback multiplier, so you can just tailor it to any car, which is by default set at 100%, I've just upped that to 105% for this car, and it feels fine. By the way, another note on force feedback, and this is a general note for any car in Rfactor 2. If you find ever in Rfactor 2 that you get a little bit of an over-pronounced understeer kind of effect, so when you're understeering, the wheel will go, especially if you're really understeering and the front wheels are sliding, your steering wheel will go a little bit light. That can be a little bit over-pronounced if you don't have your force feedback set up right. So the way to cure that, especially with my wheel, mine's a FANATEC CSW 2.5, I found that, and to cure it, I just adjusted the minimum torque within the game for the force feedback, and I didn't have to adjust it. You can adjust it by a lot. I literally put it from 0. You hear those brakes squealing up there. I put it from 0 to 0.5, and it's completely sorted out that problem. I can still feel when it's understeering. I can still get a little bit of lightness, but it's not over-pronounced at all now. And that's for any car. Force feedback in Rfactor 2 can feel a bit off if you don't get it right, and it does take a while to get it right, but once you do, it really is some of the best out there. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the car. Bravo Studio 397 for this car. You have really made my day, because now it's a great car. I can still have fun with it. Now it feels even more better even more better. Listen to my my use of words there. I'm not thinking, I'm enjoying the car too much. That's my excuse anyway. So, but I can now enjoy this car. It feels just more realistic in many ways, and also I can now enjoy racing with it, because even if there's no one online, which I'm pretty sure there are going to be a few people racing this car online soon, but if I'm not online, I can now enjoy it with the AI as well, because they seem that bit faster that I can now get serious competition for them. So, hope you've enjoyed that. If you like my videos and you want to help support the channel, please subscribe, leave us a like, and well, I'll leave you with a little bit more of Monaco and me having a little bit of fun with it to finish off. Take care. Enjoy your sim racing.